Today, Truck Tech starts another new project, a 1974 F100 with big plans. But first, let's see what's left on it.
Today is my favorite kind of day because we get to go shopping for a new project truck.
Over the years, we've built a ton of different rigs, everything from Chevy, Ford, and Dodge. We built two-wheel drives and Ford, trucks that are slammed on the ground and raised up in the air. But today, we're gonna look for a truck that we haven't done much with, but is quickly becoming popular.
Hit the road.
Let's do it. Well, I've been searching on the internet, and I found a truck that looks pretty clean that may be what you're thinking of.
Well, you know, my ideal situation would be something that's rust-free, number one. That's most important. You know, paint, I could care less if it's got good paint or not, because we can always do a color change, but as long as it has a good, solid foundation. You know, for me, the main thing is just getting right down to the fun stuff, whether it's, you know, adding a whole bunch of power, maybe swapping a motor, changing suspension out, you know. That would be ideal for me anyway.
Well, I agree with you there, but you know how it goes. You find something on the internet, the pictures look good, and then you get there to see it, the thing is horrible. But I have a pretty good feeling about this truck, so I'm hoping we load something in that trailer today.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. Well, there she is, man.
Man, that's a nice looking truck right there. Well, we've built a lot of early model C10s, and well, we want to change it up a little bit and build an F100, and this is a good example of a 1974 model. Now, typically when you go buy a brand new car or truck, you just pick out a nice color and go with it, and you don't worry much about body and paint. But with this era of truck, they are notorious for rust, so we want to check it out and make sure there's none here. And a good place to check is this cab corner. It is notorious for rust, and as you can see, there's really nothing going on there, no bubbles. I don't see any shrinkage from filler. The backside feels good, so that's a really nice. And looking down the bedside, that thing is really straight. But one thing that is really awesome, check out the inside of this bed. There's not a ding, a scratch anywhere to be seen. So obviously this truck has been restored along the way, and I must say, whoever did the body and paint on this did a fantastic job.
Now that we know we have a good body to start with, we need to take a look underneath the hood. Now, this is probably the most original 1974 F100 that I have ever seen. It's kind of scary. I mean, check this out. It even has the old school snorkel tube that's still attached to the air cleaner. The original ignition system, and even down on the valve cover, has the old sticker showing how to adjust the ignition for best emissions. Even the original AC compressor, condenser, and evaporator is all still intact on this truck. Now, you might be wondering, why the heck are we starting out with a project truck that's basically complete? I mean, it is a completed restoration after all. Now, we do have something pretty special in mind for our next project, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that later on.
Now, the paint looks awesome. The bottom side of the truck looks just as good as the top, so let's check out the interior. Man, this is awesome. Original seat cover, headliner. They've even refinished out all the paintwork in here. It looks great. But what's cool is everything that's normally broken, like these AC vents, are still intact. Man, this is an awesome truck.
Every project vehicle has a backstory, and this truck is no exception. There's been a lot of effort and love expended into this truck to get it where it is today. So we're going to meet the owner, Dwayne, and find out just a little bit more about this F100.
We've owned the truck since 1984. My dad bought the truck. Drove the truck a few years before he gave it to me when I turned 16. Took the truck all the way down to the chassis. Took the frame, had it sandblasted, and we painted it. And the floorboards on the truck had a little rust in them, so we got floor pans. I had them replaced. The truck was painted in a friend of mine in White County at that time. All over, inside and out. Engine was rebuilt. We've had it since then. That was done probably in the early 90s. Redone the truck back more original. It was more accessible parts in the original style than I could find than there was in the aftermarket at the time, and it was kind of hard to find, so I just went back original with it.
So you've had the truck for a long time. Why are you selling it now?
I had a little discussion with my dad about the old truck. We don't really use it like we did before, and we decided it was just time to move on to something else and a new project and something we could do together while he's here. So.
Well, I like everything I've seen, so what do you say we take this thing out for a ride?
Let's go burn some rubber.
Well, we went ahead and pulled the trigger on this truck right away because it is so clean, but we wanted to get it into the shop and get to know her a little better. We've seen the exterior of the truck and it is in excellent condition, but the bottom side is what's going to tell the story, and this thing is fantastic. We can see that it's probably never been in a collision because the frame is super straight, there's no kinks anywhere in it or in the sheet metal. The floors are super solid, the bed floor looks really good, and there's no rust to be found in the rockers. So I think with this truck, we're in business.
We took this truck on a very brief test drive before we just decided to purchase it and bring it home. We're about to take it out and thrash it. So I want to give it a quick mechanical checkup to make sure we don't have any surprises and have any parts fall off at like 100 miles an hour. So I'm going to start by checking out the brakes. So really the first thing that I'm checking is the brake pads. I want to make sure that I have good thickness on the front in the back, which I do, so we're good to go there. Next up, the rotor. I want to make sure that there aren't any heavy grooves or pitting or rust, and this truck basically looks like it's had a pretty recent brake job. Next up is the steering. I want to make sure that all the ball joints and tie rod ends, make sure everything is pretty tight, which it seems to be. So as far as steering and suspension and braking is concerned, I think this truck's ready to rock. It even has some brand new shocks on it. The next thing I'm going to do is change some of the fluids on this thing, mainly because I'm not sure how many years the truck has been sitting. I'll go through all the major systems and make sure they are fully lubricated. I'll pump the fluid from the rear diff and fill it with some new oil. Back on the ground, I'll suck the fluid from the trans and top it off with some Royal Purple Max ATF and fill the engine with some 10W30. Now this truck is definitely going to be a fairly comprehensive build for us. So a lot of these parts that we're checking today are going to end up being replaced or upgraded at some point. So why'd we go through the effort of checking all this stuff out? Well, we're about to go to a track and we're going to thrash this truck pretty hard. So we want to make sure that we don't have any mechanical surprises when we're out on the track doing laps. You know, the last thing you want is for a wheel to fall off or your brakes to malfunction. So it's about our safety. Now, even though this truck is a 1974, a lot of the steering and suspension and braking parts have been replaced during the restoration. So we're fairly confident that we won't have any major mechanical problems. So we brought it here to the dyno today. We kind of want to obviously get a baseline because we're about to do a bunch of stuff to it. So here's the details. It's a 351 Windsor, no idea on the compression, but I think it's stock. Has a small cam in it, I don't know the specs. Has an aluminum intake, again, not exactly sure what the combination is, but what do you guys think it'll put down? Well, oh, and it has one of those, you know those old things that they used to use on cars to mix the air and the fuel? What they call it? Carburetor?
It's a carburetor.
Carburetor. It has,
we like
I'm going to restrict your airflow just for a second.
It has a carburetor on it too.
I'm probably a bit optimistic here, but I think it's going to make around 160.
160, wow. I'm a little lower than that. I'm thinking like 140, 145 maybe.
Well, if it's got a cam in it and a manifold and a carburetor on it, and it's 351 inches, it could make 160, 170. Wow.
I haven't seen anything yet, but I'm changing my guess to 75.
This thing has a tall gear in it.
So 146.48 horsepower at 3,700. 225 pounds of torque this time at 2,800 RPM.
Hey, but you guys are about to go out and just kind of thrash on this thing a little bit, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, well, I mean...
Hey, it's nice to know we have 146 horsepower to work with.
Now, let's get this thing out on the track, Jeremy, and Pat, thanks for letting us use your dyno. Appreciate it, man.
Good time.
Nice job, guys. Now, get that thing out of here.
The F100 passed our tech inspection, has some fresh fluids in it, and we know what it puts down on the dyno. So we came out to the NCM Motorsports Park in Bowling Green, Kentucky to see how well the rubber meets the road. And we'll start out on the paddock with the basics. Now this truck definitely was not designed to be out here at a racetrack. It has twin I-beam suspension, manual disc brakes, no power assist, no sway bars, and 15-inch radial tires. So if there was ever such a thing as a fish out of water, this definitely fits the bill.
So why would we bring a truck to the track that is so unsuited? Well, we haven't yet revealed our plan for what we plan to do with this truck, but I've got a feeling you're probably catching on. We plan to build a corner carving truck, so we came out here today to get a baseline.
Spurs the rubber. So this is a standard 0 to 60 test.
Yeah.
I say go, you say 60. In
Sounds
3,
good.
2, 1, go.
Come on, truck.
Nice little peel out there.
And 60.
11.08 seconds.
Woo, man, that's moving, let me tell you. Not really, that's horrible.
It's a starting point, right?
It is definitely a starting point.
With the acceleration figured out, next we'll see how well this truck stops. Now, you know we have to measure that in a straight line, not a curve, right?
I like going crooked. That was 100 feet, but we're at 45 miles an hour.
We'll back her up just a little bit further this time and see if we can get up to the full 60 miles an hour and give it another shot. Not bad. Yep. So we got 11 seconds to 60.
Yep.
And it took 150 feet to stop from 60 to 0.
Yep, so it doesn't go and it doesn't stop. Basically.
Bad. Well, we got these cones set up. You know what's next?
You feel like driving through some cones?
Let's do it. Oh, this is something we totally should not be doing.
Not in this truck.
Here we go. Left.
Better watch him.
No penalties. That was like 22 miles an hour. What are we shooting for again this time?
50 miles an hour.
Here we go.
Get tight, get tight, get tight. There you go, there you go.
Hold on, buddy.
Don't do it that fast. Jeez.
Oh, man.
Surprised we're not sitting on our lid right now.
So far, this 44-year-old truck is solid, but we're not done yet. The road course is next.
Well, we've gotten to know our F100 a little bit out on the paddock, and now it's time to put it all together. Get out of the kiddie pool and jump into the deep end. We're on the short section of NCM's road course.
Now, this is a very tight and technical portion of the track. There's a lot of decreasing radius turns and elevation changes, so our truck really has no business being out here. You know, it would be fun in a Camaro or a Corvette, but I don't know what's gonna happen. So we're gonna take a couple of quick practice laps and we'll go from there.
Let's go.
Well, man, what do you think? This is a truck that probably doesn't belong out here, but we're about to do it.
It absolutely does not belong out here, but it's still going to be a lot of fun, and it's still amazing how original this truck is. And we haven't really gotten into it yet, but it doesn't handle all that bad. But you know, these trucks weren't designed to handle either, so
Well,
it should be interesting.
Come into this corner a little bit, see what it takes. Don't kill me though. Got a little body roll, I guess.
A
Not
little
too
bit.
bad. Now this right here, this is the most interesting part of the track.
This is the test right here.
Yeah, you come down this thing too hot, man. We're gonna be one end in front of the other.
It's like a roller coaster.
Holy cow.
Oh, you can hear him squealing. Yeah, I don't think it'd take much to get out from under you.
Oh man. Don't kill
Oh,
me.
it's right on the
You can feel it just pushing. Hey, at least it's not oversteering though. You'll wind up in a fence quick with that.
Well, it's by no means fast, but for what it is, I guess it's...
Well, tell you what, here's the start line here. Why don't I hop out? I guess you go ahead and do your time lap, and then we'll swap later on and see how I can do.
Hey, I'll try to bring it back in one piece so you can drive it.
Hey, you know what? You're the bodywork guy, so if you put it in the wall,
I'll stay out of the wall,
that's
but...
fine with me.
You ready for this?
All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1, go.
I hate to say it, but I think LT may beat me because I spun right off the track into the grass. Come on, truck, hold on, baby.
Boom, and he's across. Well, I don't know if that was a good time or not, but it was sure fun to watch. Man, what was that?
Man, I have to tell you something.
What?
If you don't beat me, it's sad because I ran clean off the track into the grass down there. So I'm telling you, it's bad if you don't win. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
Woo, that's going pretty quick. I should probably slow down. Oh, that tire's rubbing bad. Around the corner. Oh, she's feeling hard. Come on, truck. Oh, man. Need another handle. Woo! Yeah. Get you some of that, Richard Rollins. All right, 2 more corners. Hit the apex. Bounce over. 1 more. Yeah. Woo! I don't know if I beat him or not, but that was sure fun.
Well, hang on a second.
1:18:48.
121.
It's close.
Man, I put a whooping on
No,
you.
it's-
That's not close.
All right,
That's,
listen.
that's taking a whooping.
Okay, you beat me. I'll admit that. I'm a big enough man to admit that. We've got a stock truck
Yeah.
that doesn't handle very good.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't brake very good, doesn't accelerate very good.
It doesn't do
So what are we
anything
gonna
very
do? Force induction, more power, better handling, stickier tires, bigger brakes.
Yep. We need to stop, corner, and go.
All right, well, next time you guys see the truck, we'll start making that happen. You wanna do another lap?
Let's go.
Get your timer out again.
Oh, I'm never gonna hear the end of this. One thing you can't beat is looking down a long panel and getting that perfect reflection. Now, one thing that stands out to me with these square body pickups after they've been painted are the bed sides because they're long and flat. So if they've not been bodyworked properly, it's really easy to see the waves and low spots in the panel. So I'm going to show you a couple of really quick ways to find those low spots so you know what needs to be bodyworked. The first way is very simple. Using a straight edge, I'll hold it against the bedside, working my way down the length of the bed. Anywhere I see a gap between the panel and the straight edge, I know is a low spot. I'll make a mark there. I know it needs to be bodyworked. The next way is my preferred method. Using a long sanding block with 80 grit sandpaper, I'll evenly drag the block down the bedside. I'm not trying to sand anything away here, but anywhere that the 80 grit doesn't scratch the body, we know is a low spot. So now that we found the low spots in the panel, we can begin the work. Now there are a couple of ways we can do this, and we've talked about it before. We could scuff the entire truck with a red scuff pad and put it in a coat of epoxy primer, and then we could filler work right over that. But since we don't plan to skim coat the entire truck with filler and we only have a few spots we want to work, we're going to use a different method. With an angle grinder and 36 grit, grind away the primer where you plan to apply the filler. The 36 grit will rough up the metal enough that it gives the filler something really good to bite into. So we'll get the adhesion we need. All right, now we're ready to lay down some filler. Now when it comes to filler, there are a ton of different options out there. Different brands at a lot of different prices, and it's with anything, you get what you pay for. And with cheaper fillers, they tend to have pinholes when you spread it on the panel. Basically means it traps air pockets, and when you start to block it, they come out. Then you have to go back and putty those holes, and you just create a lot of work for yourself. But not only that, when they start to set up, they're like sanding concrete. They get really hard and they're just tough to work with. With better grade fillers like this, there's less of a chance of getting any pinholes. It also mixes and spreads really nicely, but the biggest benefit to this filler is how easy it sands. It really takes the workload off of you. A good rule of thumb is for about every golf ball size of filler, you want to add about a pea size of hardener. And something to keep in mind, when you mix it, don't stir it. That actually creates air pockets. You want to pallet the filler. This will actually push any air out that may be in there. Well, all right, that's just scratching the surface. So we'll continue this next time.